Mr. Larry Eaton was born December 26, 1945. He enlisted in the Marine Corps when he was 17 years old. When asked what basic training was like, he said,
"Oh, we had a lot of marching. We did a lot of PT. We went to the rifle range just before we could graduate. We were out there 3 weeks. And on our way marching back in, we weren't marching good enough for the drill instructor. We crawled 2 miles on our hands and knees. And they were sore."
Yeah. His main weapon was the M14.
It was a 7.62 millimeter 308. It was semi-automatic, but you could put a selector on them and make them automatic.
Okay.
They would shoot 750 rounds a minute if you had the magazine long enough.
Okay.
But we had a 20 round magazine. Now, when you had that on automatic, you could shoot a burst of maybe 3 to 5 rounds. Because if you tried to go more, it would rise on you.
Yeah.
It was hard to hold it down.
When asked how did he feel about the war, he responded by saying, "At the age of 18, I had no real feelings about it. They said, you're going down there, so we went down and we did our job. You do it to the best of your ability because you signed a contract with them. So you do what they tell you. You don't even think about it. You just don't." Mr. Eaton was an ambulance driver in the war. He describes the job by saying,
"We had to do our preventive maintenance. That was a big part of it. We had to check that truck all the time. We had to patch them, whatever. You have to take a test on everything you want to drive, from a Jeep all the way up.
Okay.
My license went to 25 ton. In between there, I had explosive, emergency vehicle, 5 ton, and you have to take a test on everything and I took a test on everything I could.
Right.
I even had a test on an M60 crane that I operated.
He has been in the line of fire many times. Another one of his jobs was to guard the hospital.
Ang Air Base was approximately 2 miles from us, and they had 6-inch guns there that shot out across the rice paddies from 6 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock in the morning up into North Vietnam.
Yeah.
They shot 35 miles.
Yeah.
And you'd sit in the foxhole, you'd hear the gun go off, you'd feel the vibration 2 miles away, and you'd hear it going by you. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And then later you'd see a big flash and you'd hear boom.
The climate in Vietnam was another thing that Mr. Eaton had to get used to.
Considering about a month prior to that, I was at Camp Fuji in Japan, where the grunts were doing cold weather training. I went from there at 30 below zero. Within a month, I was in Vietnam, 120 in the shade.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to get acclimated a little bit.
Another part was sleep. Mr. Eaton says,
Yes, one night in particular, I was sitting up on the sandbags, kind of dozing, and I looked out across the rice paddy, and it looked just like somebody ready to throw a hand grenade at me. I jumped down, got my rifle on my shoulder, my heart was pounding, I had a lump in my throat, and I looked again, and here it was just a shadow on the rice paddy from the water.
"Oh, okay."
I was very scared. That was scary.
After the war, Mr. Eaton was a truck driver for 40 years and a machinist apprentice.
Machinist apprentice for a while, and then I went to driving truck.
Okay.
And I drove truck for 40 years.
And what is a machinist apprentice?
We made ball valves for submarines
Oh, okay.
at PJ Hydraulics in Myerstown.
That's cool.
A lot of years ago.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of engraving, and then I was learning to use different micrometers and all that. But I didn't like being in the same building all the time. That's why I went to driving truck.
Yeah.
I drove truck in the Marines. So.
Right. Mr. Eaton will never forget his experiences in Vietnam.